Hi everyone, it's me, Dr. Noah Erickson from Innovative Family Wellness. This board probably looks pretty familiar to you if you watched my last video. So a couple of things here. I hope you had fun with it. And I was playing off the Pittsburgh E's that we all do about the Stillers and the Yinzers here in town, okay? And a couple comments came up. Yes, that was my son playing video games here in the basement, flashing lights on the board. Yes, that was also him halfway through singing one of his favorite songs from church. And yes, at the very end, my cat, unsolicited by me, did cry out. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't checked it out yet, watch it. If you like it, pass it along. Maybe someone from the Bergenat can understand, or if you guys are fans of the Pittsburgh Dad, maybe you'll get where that was coming from. All right. So anyhow, guys, what has Corona taught us? I think for the first time, the globe, right? All the countries, all the people across the world are looking at their health finally. And I also think this might be unprecedented because it's the first time natural medicine is actually making the headlines, right? In my last video, I talked about how zinc is silencing viruses. And there's some different drugs and antivirals they're using as well, but it's working. I talked about how some antioxidants, both over here in your lungs, right, and over here, which we're going to talk about, are actually shutting down inflammation. So it's interesting. We're understanding the connection between our body's load of inflammation, or our baseline status of inflammation, and how it determines the outcome if we're exposed to coronavirus, right? SARS-CoV-2. So let's check out those factors I talked about, okay? I'm going to give the first 5, and like I did last time, at the bonus, at the very end, I'll throw in that one. All right, number 1, food. Most people don't realize that food affects your mood, food affects your body, so we always say, let food be your medicine. Relevant right now to corona in your airways, we realize a lot of food allergies, and especially those that tend to release histamine, like dairy foods, can actually preload you, and corona pulls the trigger. So get tested, as I said before. All right, number 2, environment. In Pittsburgh, we do say Haas. So I said, clean your Haas, man. All I was saying is inside your ducts and your air pathways throughout your house and such, the vents, they can be contaminated with molds that release VOCs. And in your body, you can have a high mycotoxic load. And when that load goes high, it again causes inflammation, and a lot of my patients have asthma and pulmonary respiratory conditions because they're preloaded with the environment. And I did mean to say an air purifier. There's a couple brands I like. If you're interested, just call us up or email us. There's a few brands I really like for purifying the air in your home. And we even recommend some different mold remediating companies and such, and ways of testing, because many people look around and they don't see the mold, so they claim it's not there. Not the case. I have a lot more to say about that. All right, guys? Okay, number 3. True, I did say your grandmother told you about the importance of sleep. But what's the connection relevant to corona? Inflammation that this novel coronavirus is doing, because our immune system's never seen it before, so our immune system has never seen it before. So the question mark is here. It comes in the cell, does the virus, and it explodes saying, hey, immune system, I need backup, help me out. There's switches that go off, but if we have adequate melatonin, that's the hormone that an area in your brain called the pineal gland makes when you get adequate sleep, melatonin is shutting off that switch, shutting off inflammation, and as this disease progresses, you ideally then don't go into acute respiratory distress syndrome because of adequate melatonin as an antioxidant. So you guys know it as a sleep hormone. New role here, right? Controlling inflammation. Again, lowering your baseline level of inflammation, a good night's sleep, to not have this high crescendo of inflammatory response, driving further bodily responses where you end up with systemic or full body inflammation response syndrome. Okay, so number 4 here. I did say crappy genetics. I apologize looking back. I used to joke and say you can't pick your parents, so you can't pick your genes. But to bring to the forefront right now in 2020, Everybody's talking about MTHFR. I treat a lot of kiddos on the spectrum. I treat a lot of adults with chronic fatigue and immune challenges, and we want to know our methylation status. But what I said before, and if you couldn't understand me, sorry about that. Methylation silences viruses. So when you properly do this thing called methylation through your genetic regulatory pathways, you can control viral expression. So it's really cool stuff, guys, and there's tests that check it out. The old tests were pretty basic, but we're getting pretty good now. We're looking at SAM-SAW ratios, glutathione ratios, and again, that glutathione protects your cells, so when they inflame, it doesn't come into this very stiff or fibrotic presentation in your lungs. That's one of my remedies I've used for a long time for patients with COPD. All right, moving onward here. So, number 5, not heavy metal music, but heavy metals. Aluminum, lead, and mercury. They're in the environment. I always say clean air, clean water, and clean food. So check it out. Many people don't realize it'll slow you down because things that gum up your cellular machinery called the mitochondrial, they can get in there, these metals do, and slow you down, okay, as we say in the Berg. So check for those. Again, it's a factor of causing inflammation because if you turn down the energy in your cell, like a brownout day when the electricity kind of goes down, we dampen our ability to fend ourselves against viruses and other infections like yeast and bacteria and weird things like parasites that we don't even like to think about. All right, so here was the bonus one before when I said don't stress out, because the chemicals cortisol and norepinephrine, and here's the big tie-in, guys, they cause stress to come up. And as your body's dealing with stress and inflammation and allergies, that drives a side of your immune system that deals with that. Things like sinusitis and asthma and irritable bowel syndrome, these hollow spaces, again, your sinuses, your airways, and your tummy, when you're so busy worrying and fussing and running around with your hair on fire over Corona and what you're going to do about it and the future of our country and everything, that drives that up. But at the same time, that's top heavy. All the energy now can't be spent on this side over here, so we immunosuppress. We drive our immune system down. Now we're more vulnerable. So if we stay up in this world of functional medicine, we call this a Th2 dominant shift, and you can test for that. Th1 suppression over here. So low immune function. If this happens for a long period of time, months and years, people drive autoimmune conditions. So what I can say is this, is so many times we're perplexed at why somebody has an autoimmune arthritis. We're perplexed at why someone developed multiple sclerosis. But check it out. If there's one thing that we can learn from Corona, it's the connection to viruses. And guys, don't you think we're going to be exposed to more viruses? So many people know about mono, right? Epstein-Barr virus. Kids sometimes get hand, foot, and mouth disease. That's a virus, right? Who hasn't had a common flu or a cold that might have been influenza A or influenza B? And what about bacteria like strep? Do you guys know that these infections, unfortunately, can cause inflammation? And if we miss it, or we're not good body detectives, right? And we don't take a good clinical history and listen to the patient and hear the patient and connect all these seemingly unrelated dots. I always say the patient's crying out to be heard, but they just need someone like a detective to put all the clues together and draw a common thread. A lot of times, autoimmune diseases in kids and adults are driven by underlying infections. So hence, we test your stool. We test your vitamin D level. We look at your antioxidant level. We assess your stress level and your cortisol level. There's special ways to do this. That's why in office we have a lab that checks for blood and urine and hair and saliva and genetics, because if we biohack or kind of like hijack these mechanisms, identify what your triggers are, then your response to infections like viruses, and to put it relevant, Corona, you can actually survive. So I said in that last video, let's face it, we're all going to be exposed, right? We want our body to see this and create its own immunity. But we do not want to progress into ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and we certainly want to go as far as getting clots in the blood, right? We're finding out now as we learn more and more about corona. So we can do things like use zinc and minerals to stop the viral replication. We can take things like probiotics and care for our intestinal health, okay? So that we don't come preloaded and have this vulnerability to this response. So my take-home message to everybody is what we need to start doing as a country, a nation, and even around the world is let's use this coronavirus to all go, wait a minute. We have an internal immune system, right? Kind of two sides. Innate, we're born with it, and acquired. So right now we're saying, I want to sort of have acquired immunity so the next time my body sees this, I'll fight. But again, guys, please don't miss this. It's inflammation, and that's what's happening. If the virus hits the type 2 lung cell and causes a cytokine storm, and you can't turn the volume down on that storm, your body releases chemicals that can go in your bloodstream and cause a clot. It can actually cause a pneumonia-like condition or an altitude airway sickness condition, and you can't exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide, and it doesn't just stay local to your lungs. As you have low partial pressures of oxygen, that goes throughout your body. So your liver enzymes can change, your kidney function can change, and we test for those, right? So remember this, if there's one thing that we can take out of corona, okay, it's maybe that this whole idea of controlling inflammation, identifying these underlying causative factors of inflammation is the root cause of why many people suffer needlessly here in the United States, but also around the world. So I so appreciate you guys checking out my previous video. If you liked it and are from Pittsburgh or not, you want to learn more about how we all talking at, check out that video. I had a lot of fun with it. And I got a couple of immune kits, as I mentioned. I said moon kits. I said, excuse me, number one, if you don't want to get it and stay healthy, it's the Dr. Noah's Natural Immune Kit. That's some of my favorite in there things like elderberry and vitamin C and zinc. Love this. That's to stay healthy, to bolster your immune system. You remember when I said before, guys, about echinacea, andrographis, astragalus, and those herbs? That's all in here, okay? And a lot of people, as I said before, think they had it, and unfortunately, they're kind of concerned about getting it tested. What are the implications? Or maybe they're saying, you know what, I know I had it, but I still have this upper respiratory. And that one, I put things that help soothe the airway respiration. Herbs like quercetin and perilla, and some things in there that actually help you shut the inflammation down. So if you're left with this chronic stubborn cough, or you have some issues, you know, that just seem like your post-infected state, check it out. One final thing in closing, guys, silver. I so appreciate and respect everybody on the front lines, and now we're going out in public again as the world's kind of opening up again. Social distancing, the masks and gloves and things, but guys, silver is something I've used for years. What I'm personally doing and suggesting that some people try, you can take silver, and we carry this, both orally and in a vertical spray to help against these germs. In functional medicine, we call it total body decolonization. Again, lower the burden you're carrying with immune by killing off other germs. Because as this thing mutates and we're exposed to colds and streps and flus and other intestinal bugs and viruses, we have to remember we can overcome this. We can lower inflammation, and we can do proactive things to help ourselves get well. So again, guys, in closing, I so appreciate you checking me out here. I hope you learned something from this time compared to the last one, was kind of a let loose, kind of maybe feeling, you know, social isolation or something, in captivity, if you will, and we had some fun with that. Thanks all you guys for checking it out. I so appreciate you. If you don't know much about me, I'm Dr. Noah from Innovative Family Wellness. check out the website. It's innovativefamilywellness.com. So, for Innovative Family Wellness, this is Dr. Noah Erickson wishing you invincible health. Take care.